Almost there.
Real good thing. Virtual
It
Sunday.
says it's now streaming on YouTube.
I think we're about,
Confirmed, you're back on YouTube.
okay, is it streaming now? Okay. I lost where, oh, there's Alex. Okay. Okay, let's try again. Sorry.
Okay.
Nothing to
So
me.
Mr. Ryder said that he
Do we need to
prefer not to.
be an alternate? Crap, what's wrong? Okay, would not to, okay. Can we have an alternate? We need to, probably just in case.
Wendy said she would do it.
Okay,
But
Is
she's
that
muted.
enough?
Even though I'm in the wrong county, I'm happy
where
to be
did Wendy
alternate
go?
or
She's not on my
whatever.
screen. Oh, there she is. Everybody
here.
got shuffled around from before on my screen, so. Okay, so we have our 5 members.
There are 4 members and an alternate.
I mean, 4 members and an alternate, sorry. Okay. And are the members, are you all okay meeting in person unless something happens with Janine's dad?
Right.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
And could you give those dates once again? I have down 30th, 15th,
It's-
17th, 23rd.
The November 23rd is the date that everybody needs to be present to open the CMR and read the names. Then the 30th is the date that the selection committee meets and reviews the qualifications. That's of November. Then
Okay.
December 15th is the date when the committee meets for the interviews. And we
Okay.
have not, I don't know the time yet. Some of that will depend on how many people we pick. And then the 17th is the December board meeting. And that's when the committee will report.
Will that be by Zoom?
Yeah, unless you all decide you want to meet, and I'm assuming you probably want to Zoom from now until the end of the year at least. Especially with cases on the rise.
November
people having to
23rd, would that
quarantine.
be Zoom as well?
Yeah, November 23rd will be Zoom. The 30th and the 15th will be the full, or will be in, no, I'm sorry. November 23rd, November 30th, and December 17th will all be Zoom. The 15th is the only, December 15th is the only date we would meet in person. And that's because of the interviews.
And
Everything else.
that one you said would be in Pierce City? Is that
Yes.
right? Okay.
Mhm.
Can you send something out on that for us? Can you send something out like those reminder dates?
Oh yeah, you mean like before it happens?
Yes.
I can do that, sure. Yeah,
Okay.
because the 23rd is a month, more than a month from now, so, but
Yeah.
just make sure you get them on your calendar just so that it's not a surprise to you. So,
All right. Thank you.
but yeah, I'll be happy to send a reminder,
Mhm.
and I'll
Yes,
send you
it's
the Zoom links and stuff for that too.
Jessica, which of these meetings do we attend?
I did, when I went over this with Gina, I told her I would try to be in attendance for everything, just so we can have a facilitator who's been through this process in the past. So
Yeah.
I think you should probably be there as well, as much as you can.
Understood and agreed.
Yeah, we definitely want you guys there. 'Cause
Please.
they may have questions that we cannot even remotely answer, so I don't know.
Stand.
We're happy to be there. I just didn't know if there was any we couldn't attend.
No, all of our meetings are, as long as there's 2 board members present, it's a public meeting if they're discussing library business.
Okay. What else do we need to do now?
I think that's it with Alex and Jessica. We can move on to the rest of the meeting.
Basically, the motion to proceed was all they had to, we had to
Yeah.
vote on for that.
Yeah, I think we did everything we're supposed to do, right, with the CMR? Yeah. All right.
Gina, the only thing
Thank
I was
you.
going to ask about was the director's report and anything you want us to add to the Meeks and Mount Vernon discussion.
No,
Okay.
pretty much we decided that we don't want to do it. So there's not really
Okay.
anything to add. So
Okay. Thank you very
All right.
much.
Thank you for coming.
thank you
Thank you.
guys. We appreciate it.
Yay. Okay, now I've got to find my, sorry, doing this on my phone is not efficient. Minutes of the September meeting. Has everyone read the minutes from September?
Yes,
Are there
ma'am.
any changes or corrections? I need a motion to approve the September minutes.
I move that we approve them.
Hey, thank you, Katie. And Mr. Piter, you seconded?
Yes.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Financial report.
Okay, so for September, we had income of $21,899.76. Not much to say. It's just typical for this time of year. I do have to report, I did not think, and I did not put it in the budget because the state told us not to, but you'll see next month and I'll talk about it then. But we did get our first and second quarter equalization payments, and it was about $22,000. So it's nice to have the money because we can use it for books and just about anything we want to. So we got more money with Barry than we did with Lawrence, but that's pretty typical. So that, that'll be nice to show in October at least. And that was a pleasant surprise because like I said, I didn't think we would get any state funds at all this year. And then in our expenditures, we were down a little bit, fortunately. We were at 137, 816, 31, and that's just pretty much business as usual. So that's about where we should be. A month is right around 130, 140, sometimes 150. It just depends. But I think we've paid a lot of our annual subscriptions, and so that means our cost will start dropping just a little bit. So and then you can see we have a healthy fund to start this construction project with Monette at 614,993, and then Shellknob has the 182,373 in it, which is if we've decided not to build over there, if that doesn't come to pass, we have money to renovate, providing people who donated say it's okay to do that. And then in checking, we have 427,593. You can see we're down 130,000 from last year, and hopefully we'll limp into the end of the year pretty well. So far, so good. Staff has been pretty good about not asking for things that really aren't needed, and we have not done any maintenance beyond what we typically do. So we're just holding the line for right now. Better days are coming because 2020's got to be better, right?
2021.
2021, sorry. See, it's like, oh my gosh, 2020's been like 5 years long. So, yep, that's the report.
Okay, need a motion to approve the financial report.
I still move.
Thank you, Janine. Need a second?
I'll second.
Deborah, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Circulation statistics.
Okay, so this month, we had 19,477, which is down a little bit from last year. We have one more month, and then we should be comparing apples to apples because November was our first full month last year with Evergreen. So we'll finally be able to compare Evergreen to Evergreen numbers. Right now, we're comparing them to TLC numbers, and I don't know whose numbers are correct, but it is what it is. And really, honestly, considering we're in a pandemic, I'm pretty happy with that 19,000 because people are still using the library. So you can see we were open the same number of days as last year, but we're circulating obviously a little bit less per day. Our e-checkout continues to increase. So MoLib to go, we had 2,442. I'd like to say I'm proud to announce that I'm part of that because I've been using MoLib to go. And then you can see our Hoopla use is up quite a bit, almost 700 more. And the created B, because I didn't have enough room in that column and it was going to cut it off anyway, is that creative bug, which is the craft video site from Joanne's that we added. And we've been trying to push that again. I asked Greg to push it out because on Facebook, there was a discussion with some friends about what is it? And somebody was going to purchase a subscription. I was like, don't do that. We have it. It's free. And so just to make sure we get it out there. So make sure your friends know that that's available.
I had a call from a lady who wanted to donate beads to the library to help with craft projects. She had thousands, I guess.
Wow.
Wanted to donate them.
That's
So I gave her the number to call, and I assume she talked to Jennifer.
Yeah. We had 1393 for computer use. That's about half of what it was last year, but you remember only about half of our computers are available right now because of social distancing standards. People are still making use of book delivery. Those are our homebound customers. And then the curbside delivery is still going pretty strong. I think that's been a good thing, and we'll just continue to offer that. I don't know why we would stop. And then in the very long sheet, which is about to get longer, and I'll tell you about that. We have a lot of programs that go on, and now we have to count virtual programs, obviously, and Facebook posts. So there's just a lot. So we had 105 programs in September with attendance of about 2,085. So every year I have to do this report for the state library, but it's actually a federal report. Public libraries across the U.S. are supposed to do it, and we're required to do it if we want to receive state aid. So I'm pretty motivated to do it. And those are the statistics that are compiled and used for grants and so forth. So I always learn something new every year. There's always something different that they ask for, and the pandemic has made that happen. And so one of the things we've learned with virtual programs is that we have to count virtual programs a couple of different ways. They have to be counted as live programs or recorded programs. And it can only be a live program if it's actually a live program. So if somebody's doing a Facebook Live or whatever other methods there are, which I can't remember, then that's the only ones we can count as a live program. Everything else is called recorded. If it sits on YouTube for people to use anytime, it's recorded, and that has to be counted differently. So I changed my report sheet for next month, and I'll have to go back and retro do things, but you can see it's now going to be back to the normal 8.5 by 11 paper, but it'll have 2 sections to it. I couldn't fit it on 8.5 by 14 anymore when I had to split that out. And then they aren't allowing us to call take-home kits a program. So we have to count those separately, and those have been so popular. So I've told the staff, and I had to turn their report sheet sideways to get all that to fit too. So it'll look a little different next month for that. And then you can see on your branch activity report that that there's still a lot going on. Our branches are trying really hard. They're holding a lot of programs outside, which will bring us eventually to another discussion in here in just a minute about meeting room use as fall approaches. They've done some really nifty things, and we have some really cool programs coming up. So Amber here, our new children's person, she has planned a fall Jubilee extravaganza using Pokemon, and she's gotten a dozen sponsors for that. Like every day she tells me something new. So I'm really excited, and all that's going to be outside at the Monette Park. So I encourage you to encourage people to participate, because it'll be pretty much an all-day thing to encourage social distancing. So.
Okay. Director's report.
All right, so not a whole lot to report. Jana called me a couple of weeks ago and said she finally really needed to have this extra person. And I said, I don't have a problem with that. And so we pulled applications we had received pretty recently. And this Lori Freitag has been persistent. This was her 3rd interview with us.
Mm-hmm.
She always comes in second. And so this time they interviewed her, and we've hired her, and she'll start October 26th. That's so she can give notice where she's at. And she'll actually start here in Monette for training. So we're happy to bring her on board. We, in anticipation of knowing that we need to do something at Mount Vernon, we actually looked at the Meeks property, which is kind of just down the street from them on Highway, what is that, Business 39 or 39, right?
39.
Yeah. And it's a pretty big piece of property. In looking at the building, it would probably be big enough. It was already plumbed, but it's on a slab. I mean, there were just so many issues with retrofitting that building. And then there's like 5 outbuildings. And so we wanted to take a look at it to see if it was a possibility for moving the branch there, because it would be a good location. But I want to say it's like 3 acres. It's pretty massive in the back. I guess it started out as a lumber yard originally, and then they built that store on the front of the property. And so it goes back pretty far, because we walked the whole thing. And so after seeing it, we decided that I think we'd be better served to keep the building we have, because it's in really good shape. And then adding, what we probably would do is add an L to that building. But that's down the road, and that'll be part of Paragon's maintenance plan for us. There wasn't anything for me to write.
Okay.
Well, you can report on that in a minute. I don't know if you all are aware, but they painted our grain silo here, and it is really pretty, and it looks so much better than the eyesore it was before.
Really?
Okay, Joyce. At any rate, as part of that, they had a celebration Saturday, and the Betterment group, or whatever they're called, the Monette downtown group, asked us to show the movie Miracle as a part of that. So I called and got the license for the movie from the licensing group. And so they showed that, and Greg texted me Saturday evening and said they had about 150 to start. So, which is 4 or 5 times as much as I told the company that we would have. Shh, don't tell. Because we got a really good price.
So did Greg infect
Well-
all people?
I don't know. It was outside. Yeah, it's probably the other way around. Then our newest staff member at Aurora tested positive late last week for COVID. And on Monday, after calling multiple health departments, Joyce always is great with this. We determined that we had to close the branch because we don't have enough staff to keep the branch open by using other staff, because as you know, we're at the bare minimum as it is. So we only had one person that had not had contact with her. And so they were sent to Marionville for the duration. And so they'll reopen on the 22nd. And then also with Aurora, the HVAC units that we talked about early this year, they finally got those in and they got them installed. And as far as we know, they're working.
Yeah, they've been tested and they are working.
Okay. You called us?
Yeah. I took to Vicky.
Oh, you talked to Vicky. Okay, good. And so they're good to go now for winter because those were kind of critical for them to have. And then they asked if they could go back to having Saturday hours now that they're fully staffed again. And so I said yes, except that I think you need to be in line with what the other big branches are doing and do 9 to 1. So they kind of grumbled. She grumbled about it, but it's okay. She just has to figure out how to staff it, and do their schedule. So beginning November 1st, Aurora will join again with Saturdays from 9 to 1. So that'll mean that all the big branches, Cassville, Monette, Mount Vernon, and Aurora, will all have 9 to 1 on Saturdays. So I think that area will be happy to have those hours again. And then Joyce just talked to the Berry County Health Department about Monette. And so,
well, it's not really good news. I've now got to where I know these people pretty well, that we have to talk to, because
which is really sad.
which I've talked to the state is the final word on everything. And I've talked to the state health department already. And this was the Berry County Health Department, which will be the contact. They will do the contact tracing. And I will do for them what I did with the other person at Aurora. I will give them the name of all the employees, names, addresses, telephone numbers, and date of birth. And they contact them individually and make sure that they worked on the day that this person, whoever it was, wherever they are, is symptomatic. They are the ones that tell us how long we have to be out and what day we can come back. Okay, in the situation with Greg, we are also just, that's a term that they've, throw away in the health department around. We are what's called non-essential services. So in other words, we do not have to be open. We cannot ask our employees to be there when you've had someone positive. If we were a governmental body that was essential, they would automatically ask their employees to stay on board as long as they can. Now, they said that basically because he works in an office, but he's out of that office off and on all day. He's in Gina's office quite a bit. They said that more than likely we will have to close the Monette branch. They will now. I told her that I would give her a schedule. She said that what has to start with him is it's 48 hours before he became symptomatic. So he became symptomatic on Saturday, right? That's what he told us. Because he went to the doctor on Monday. They did the COVID test. He just got it back. Okay, so basically it would be anybody that had worked with him from Thursday, that they would start the date on Thursday. So we'll get the schedule because not everybody worked those days. So it may be entirely possible that we've got people that didn't work with him starting on Thursday. Now, the other tricky part for us is we do have several employees that have some fairly severe pre-existing conditions. And those are the ones that they would worry about the most. I did not work Thursday and Friday. So I was not around him then, and he has not worked since then. He was in Gina's office an hour on
At least
Friday.
Thursday and Friday.
Oh,
So he's out with the rest of the staff. Leanne is with him all the time because she shares an office with him. But
wow.
we have some people up front that he does tend to chit chat with a lot. And some of those have some pre-existing conditions. So I guess what we have to decide is if we have enough staff to actually, even a partial opening, keep the Monette branch open. So we'll have to decide, we'll have to figure that out when we get the schedule and figure out who worked and who didn't work.
And who had contact with them and who
Yeah.
didn't.
Well, pretty much like she said, if you're in a building like this, you had contact with him because he's in and out. But at any rate, we may be able to just do maybe a partial opening at least, or curbside, strictly that sort of thing, because the regional office pretty much has to be here. And I did not have contact with him, but Gina did. She would be an at-risk contact. So that's pretty much, but she said, basically anybody that had that, you need to send them home. So that's what we're looking
I'll
at
be going
today.
home after the meeting. But I do have to say, in anticipation of this, I have tried to make sure everything's been caught up and good to go. And I can do some work from home. So I can check emails and that sort of
there's some of
thing.
that. Now we have 2 employees that were already scheduled for vacation next week. And of course, now they're going to be quarantined.
They're not happy campers right now at all.
Goodness.
So yeah, it just interferes with so very much. But on the other hand, it's like I talked to Vicky, who was at Aurora. She's the only employee that did not work with this other one that came down positive. She's working at Marionville. Well, they just found out that her son-in-law, her daughter, and their 18-month-old child all tested positive yesterday.
Oh my.
And so the 18-month-old, the son-in-law is symptomatic. The daughter is not yet, but the 18-month-old is the one the doctor is really warning them to watch the child's breathing very closely. So this stuff is just everywhere right now. It's just kind of blowing up. I talked to the health department, the state health department, and she said, I've answered more phone calls from your part of the state in the last 3 weeks than I've answered in the last 6 months. So it's definitely come to roost here. But that's what we're going to have to do. I think probably we'll have to have a meeting with Cindy. We'll have to look at the schedule. We'll have to see what we can do. But I'm hoping that we can somehow do partial service from here. And that's kind of where we are right now. My husband's having surgery on the 4th of November, and I have to be off with him. I cannot be in the hospital with him, but when he comes home, I have to be home with him for a while because there's just the 2 of us. And so everybody's got something right now. It's just the way it is. But we'll just do the best we can. But at least now we have an authority, and we never make a decision until we've talked to these authority people who starts that record for us and says, this is what we recommended.
Right. Wow.
Good
luck, Gina.
Thank you. I have to say, the staff is really good about wearing their masks when they're out with the public. And so I don't wear one in here because all the people in the office generally, as a general rule, are pretty careful about who they see and don't see. And then, of course, I'm in my office most of the time.
But
And
everybody
this
does
is
when they
about
go out
the-
front.
this is about the closest Joyce and I get is at a meeting. I mean, as far as being in each other's space. So we'll let you know what we decide to do. We are,
And Gina, just so you know, this is where that non-hugging thing comes in really really handy. So just so you know.
you want me to hug her?
No, I don't want you to hug her. You could contaminate her.
Yeah, I know.
So when will you know something? In the
Well,
next couple of days?
after we're,
We'll have to make a decision by this afternoon because I have to fax her a list this
Okay.
afternoon at the health department of the people that they will have to contact and then what our procedure is when we're starting what they have recommended. So it'll be this afternoon because they you know, it helps them greatly if I do the list because they don't have to find these people on their own. And it worked for us real well in Aurora because all of those employees were contacted within 48 hours by the health department after we sent the list. And so that helps them because they're so backed up.
and they were actually told that they could go back to work the 21st. But since we'd already said the 22nd to the public, they're going to go back in the building and get caught up because that'll be a week and a half where all those books from the book drop and all their deliveries and all that stuff will have piled up. So
and they've already got 12 boxes sitting in the lobby right now.
Oh, boy. Sorry, but I have to leave for the next meeting.
all right. Good luck, Janine. Glad your
Thank
dad
you.
is okay.
Yeah, there's 33 plus cases over there and their workers now are worse than the others. So, but he's in a wing that doesn't have any right now. And thank goodness, because he's 99 and has respiratory problems anyway. So.
Yeah, it's just blowing up. It's just
I
really
know.
blowing up.
I know it. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
So as soon as we make a decision, I'll email everybody so that you kind of know what's going on.
Okay. See, we need an approval on the director's report, right? Need a motion to approve the director's report?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Jan.
Wendy, you've got to turn your sound on if you're going to make a motion. All in favor?
Like you swallowed.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
I think it's art. I know I was watching a cooking show yesterday and they were doing it virtually. It was on one of those channels. And that was so funny because one of them had muted herself and they were like, you're muted, you're muted. I thought it happens everywhere. It was hysterical. So.
Okay. Review of COVID-19 policy, meeting room.
Okay, so this is the document I sent you after I'd already sent everything else because obviously I can't pull it all together. I don't know. There's always one scraggler. But this is what we had put out at the beginning of July and pretty much is what we've stuck with. So I do want to make a few changes. Some of them are just minor, but I am going to insert a comment where it says that we have a limited amount of patrons per location for a maximum of 30 minutes at a time for in-library use and for a maximum of 60 minutes at a time for computer use. And then I want to add a comment that's because this is what we're doing. Accommodations are made for those taking tests or studying for school class, and it's done on a case-by-case basis. And that's what the staff has been doing because we do have school kids that are coming in that this is their access. So we've had to make some exceptions, but for the most part, because I asked yesterday if they're still really following this, because we have a lot of people that ask for forgiveness later. But they said pretty much people come in, do their business and leave. They're really not lingering. So that's good. Aurora said that they're often reaching their 12 patrons. So, and sometimes going over. So I would suggest we raise their number up to 15. And I think that'll be fine for that. And that puts them in line with Monette and Mount Vernon. And then the other thing that we need to talk about is the meeting room use. I still don't recommend that we allow meeting room use for the general public. I don't think that's even a discussion point unless you think we need to. But the staff, because so many of them have been doing outside programs and now they want to move inside, we have book clubs that are begging to meet. I don't know how many people are in some of the book clubs, but there is an issue in that some of the meeting rooms are full of furniture that we're not going to be moving anytime soon, because the latest Realm study shows that even after about 8 days, COVID still is present in the fibers on furniture. So I think given that, we need to keep those extra chairs and toys and stuff still put away until we see a decrease, and we're seeing an increase in cases, not a decrease. So I told the staff that I would talk to you about letting them maybe do some use of the meeting rooms for their programs.
I think at this time we can't open the meeting rooms. I mean, we're having to shut branches down because of cases. So I don't think this is a good time to be inviting more people in.
Agreed.
At least this month. Maybe next month will be different.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
I agree.
Do we need to add something
It's really hard.
Do we need to add something about closing branches if we do have positive cases, or is that just okay if the state or the health department tells us we need to?
We've been consulting with the health departments just because it makes you feel better when you have to close a branch that the state health department says you have to do it.
Mhm.
And
So we don't have to have that in writing.
No, I just didn't get to it, obviously, with all the other stuff that was going on. But I am going to write a policy about how we proceed when we close. But I can add that as a bullet point, that branches will be closed on a case-by-case basis if we have a positive COVID case.
With recommendation by state health
Yeah,
authority.
from the state health, with local and or state health authorities.
So are we leaving? You said you wanted to change this, but you didn't make the changes?
No, I mean, I don't, it's not anything you have to vote on.
Okay,
It's just a revision,
It's just a
basically.
revision of what we have. I don't think we voted on this the first time, did we?
Yeah, we did to begin with because we'd never had anything
Yeah.
like this. But that was way back in March.
I didn't send the changes because I did this after I sent the document. I started reading over it and thought, oh, we probably need to do a couple of things here. So.
okay. Online payments?
Okay, so this should be a quick discussion. So I was talking with Greg about the fact that I thought it'd be nice if we had if customers could go online and click and actually pay their bill online. we've discussed it in the past. And I talked a little bit with Leanne last night about it, but we really can't proceed with whether we can or can't do it without having approval from you to add it as an option. We already have PayPal, so customers are used to being able to pay here using credit cards. And so by adding this option online, they could pay their fee, which is going to be now, I mean, it won't be a few cents, which was an issue before when we discussed it. Now it's going to be a pretty significant chunk of change because if they have any fees, it's going to be lost and overdue material or damaged material.
Just lost and damaged, not
Yeah.
overdue, because we're not paying, we're not.
And then that also gives us an option to have a button or whatever it's called for donations. So if somebody wanted to donate, he said he could do a form where they could say, I want to donate to Monette this amount of money. So it might just be a nice option to have. And then I believe Leanne runs a report every month and
Yeah.
gives it to Joyce.
And then I add it to the general ledger.
And yeah, she adds it to the general ledger because we got that all kind of worked out before. So
it's always reported and there's always tracing for the amount that we're receiving.
But people like being able to pay cashless. And so if we can encourage people, especially to donate money in a cashless way, then maybe, and they could set up a recurring payment that way. We don't end up having to have checks. And I think it could be a good thing.
Are there fees associated with it?
Yeah, but with PayPal, I can't remember. That's why we went with them. It's pretty nominal overall. So it hasn't cost us a huge amount, right? Yeah.
No, it averages, depending on how much we collect every month, it probably averages between probably $4 and $9, something like that.
And I think they have to charge a minimum of $1, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay. So we need a motion to approve an online payments for fees and or donations. Wendy, need a second? Jan? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Policy revisions.
Okay, so because we had done several additional policies and then some updates to old policies, and I hadn't gotten everything done on our online policies, I just went through and made sure our new logo was on everything, fixed the wording and so forth. So all that is now done. And then there's just a couple of policies that needed to be tweaked. And so, as I said, I'm working on here's what we do when we close policy. I know it's kind of backwards, but I just haven't had time to work on it. And, but we did have a case come up recently where we talked about tattoos and what's appropriate and not appropriate. We don't have very many staff that have tattoos, but we don't have anything in our policy. So what I did is I looked at other policies, and I'd actually sent an email out to the public library directors in the state. And so what I did is I merged some of the statements they had about tattoos with a statement we already had on political buttons and stickers and so forth. And so you'll see the highlighted thing here. What I want to say is visible. You know, they can have tattoos on their chest as long as it's covered up that say, you know, I love, you know, the Green Party, whatever. Trying to be correct. Visible tattoos, buttons, stickers, or any other accessory or item of apparel, including jewelry, because we know jewelry can have a statement too, that espouses a cause, supports a political candidate or platform, expresses an opinion, or is violent, hateful, insulting, threatening, or profane. And that way we cover everything from jewelry to t-shirts, because that's, can be a bone of contention. You can't come in and have an FU t-shirt. We don't have staff that do that, but we did have a girl that wore hats all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And so at any rate, we don't have a hat policy. We just took care of that with her. So that's the state. That's how I want to put the statement. Because we can't tell people they can't have tattoos because you couldn't hire anybody.
But we don't have to see them.
Wendy's so funny. Any comments?
No. 3 inches above the knee, that's pretty high.
Yeah, well, that's almost medieval compared to some of them that come in here. So
Really?
For the most part, we do not, many of these we don't have issues with. It's really just in case sometimes you get people that they don't understand, and you can always point back to this to say, this is not appropriate.
well, you don't have issues when you hire them, but sometimes the first day of work, they don't look the same way they looked when you interviewed them. And then all of a sudden it's like, holy moly, who is this?
And we have some people that I don't want to see their hiney ever.
No.
So
Those are pictures you can't get rid of.
Okay, do we need an approval on these?
yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
To have like the first and
Okay.
second reading on all
Yeah,
this.
you got to do that
First-
first and second reading. Yeah.
Yeah. I need an approval on the first reading. A motion to approve.
Moved.
Mr. Piter. Need a second?
I'll second.
Wendy, she raised her hand first.
Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Now the second reading of the appearance and hygiene policy. Deborah, you want to take the first approval first?
I will do that. I will
Aren't we
I
a
move
fun
that we
group,
accept
Deborah?
it.
And you
Thank
thought
you,
I
Ed.
was dull.
And I need a second. Don't all fight now. Katie, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Okay.
And the last thing is the annual report.
Did we have an annual report?
Before we do the annual report, I'm sorry, I didn't read all my notes that I'd scribbled. I'm going to assume that you're going to say no, but the Aurora Friends wanted to know if they could have a book sale mid-November. I think it was the 13th and 14th or 14th and 15th or something like that.
And that's in the building.
Specifically,
In the meeting, I'm assuming it would be in the meeting room downstairs.
well,
Wow.
we
We just quarantined them. So
I would say
No.
if they want to have some books out in the library upstairs, but not, since you just voted on the meeting room, but I just wanted to clarify because I forgot to ask. Okay. All right. I'm sorry, what? Somebody said something. Oh, that's a good idea. And if the weather's warm enough.
did Wendy swallow a frog?
I think it's her connection is wonky.
Got it.
I don't think she could make that kind of sound with her voice.
I don't think she could voluntarily.
I was impressed myself.
Okay, so the annual report, there's really not a whole lot to go over because all of this is the information I gave you pretty much from the statistical report. And then Greg just puts pictures and pretties it up and puts, makes it look really nice. So, and he has used a mix of stock photography and photos that we have that the branches have sent in. So if some of these look familiar, then you'll know why. But sometimes it's hard to tell what's stock and what's not. So, and like he said, you know, when he worked at the Y, he always had parents that were like, "That's my kid on the edge of the pool," and he's like, "Sure." No, because it was stock photography, but if they thought that was their kid, okay, you know. So the first page basically is just the at a glance thing and what our mission statement is. And then we discussed, this was not in the statistic report, but we discussed that probably since COVID was such a big part of our lives this year, we probably needed to have something in here. And so he took information from some of the documents that we had and how we responded to that. And this will be good, especially if sometimes you go back and look at those annual reports for different things, and we can be reminded of, you know, 5 years down the road that hopefully we're not,
That this happened.
and what we did. Maybe we'll have a new pandemic
that
we have to deal with. So.
Don't say that.
And then the next one talks about a brighter future for your library. And this talks about some of the things that we did this year, like migrating to Evergreen, adding Creative Bug, and all the grants that we got. And I do try to make sure when we do an annual report, and I give him the information on these grants, because this has bit us before, to always note that this is a grant that we had to actually contribute part of the money to, because not all grants are fully paid. So I try to always make sure that that's noted. And then the next page just continues with that about some of the maintenance things that we did and the building projects that are going on. Then I like how he always has this statement, everything we do is funded by community support. And that just reminds them that we're all in this together. And this is why we're able to do the things that we do. And then he did put a thank you in here for the support that we got to pass that tax levy. And I think that's real important. This is always an important part of your annual report, is showing your budget for the year. And it's a little more condensed in form because you all see line items all the time, but the public's not going to necessarily understand that. So we combine things to make that work. And then charts are always really good. And then the next page is the annual statistics for circulation, and then programming. All that was in your statistical report, your miscellaneous statistics. And then almost to the end is the comparison of the branches. I always make sure that so that people can see, how did my branch do? And you can kind of compare it to the rest of them, especially when you have little branches that want to have extra things like everybody else, and you have to point out your circulation's not so hot, so you really need to bring your circulation up before we give you $20,000 worth of books, because we have that happen all the time, unfortunately. So and then the last page has the Board of Trustees listed and all the branch locations. I think that was, oh no, I lied. The last page was the ad, basically the ad that he ran about that there's no more late fees. So that's pretty much it, unless somebody has a question. And these did go out to print, but he was not here, and so we didn't get them yet because the printer had a question about the paper size. So Greg has talked to him, and those, I think we're getting about, I don't remember, a couple of hundred of them to have on hand, so we can pass those out to the branches. And if you all want a print copy, then I can send them to your branch locations for you to pick up, because it'll be pretty. It won't be, you know, one sheet like I printed for myself and Mr. Potter. So,
and I can honestly say I've now seen 34 annual reports, And this is the first one I've ever seen where we're wearing masks. So it's a whole nother world out there.
I thought it looked very good,
Yeah,
too.
well,
the layout and everything.
Yeah, he does a great job. Every year it looks more, I mean, the first one he did looked really professional, but it gets better and better. And I think
Mhm.
they look every bit as good as what I see across the state and often better. So it's much better than what I produced. And more than a page, so that's good. So, and these are nice to hand out, especially heading into fundraising. With that coming up, then we'll have these to hand to the people because they want to see what is it that you're doing. And so these are nice to have for that purpose. So,
Okay. Anything else, Gina?
nope, that's it. Just a reminder to get those dates put in your calendar, and I definitely will send out reminders to you. And our next board meeting is scheduled for the 19th of November. That was not on that list of dates because it didn't coincide with any of the CMR stuff.
Okay.
So I'm nervous about this will be my first building project. So,
Well, we're doing it differently this time, and I think we're going about it the right way
yeah,
compared
definitely.
to what we've done in the past, just having the architect just ramrod everything. So,
and I think the thing with the CMR is, Joyce and I talked about this yesterday, is they work for us.
right.
And so one of the things I definitely am going to be looking at, and we agreed on this because except for Mr. Piter and Greg and Melvin, pretty much we're a female driven library. And we all know how men sometimes talk to women.
Mhm.
So if I'm going to have to work with this person, and Joyce is going to have to, I'm going to look and make sure we get somebody that doesn't look down on us every time we ask a question, because that will be contentious.
Right.
I
Right.
have that problem. So
Yeah.
just so you know.
Joyce will just get right in there and
I have it.
Or
Yes,
think
we know.
we don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
yeah,
You know.
That's-
or
Uh-huh.
argue that can't, that's not right. But like Joyce said, I know what the lowest point is when water puddles there. Can't convince me otherwise. It's not level.
Come on.
So that's
Yeah, but Joyce, beating somebody up isn't any better than hugging them. So keep your distance.
But you feel a whole lot better
Yeah.
at the end of it. Actually. You know, it's not bad.
Okay. So Mr. Piter, we need a motion to adjourn.
I make that motion.
I already had
Yay.
your name down.
A second? Katie, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion
Okay.
carried. See you all next month. Thank you for being here today.
hour and a half meeting. We're good. We're doing good. We had a lot to cover. So,
Yep. Okay.
all right.
Okay.
Bye.
Have a good week.
Bye.
I'll
Thank you.
email when we know what we're going to do.
Okay.
Okay.